Hey all, this is 01 Boku and
Jackass Jherick with Mr. Puppysworth.
yes, my dog, Mr. Hawkins is with us. My only kid, his name is Hawk, but don't know what's bugging him, but he came over near us again, and there you are getting all the love, Mr. Hawkins.
Well, he's a 25th century kind of puppy, you know.
Oh yeah, well absolutely. And today, guys, as you see, I am no longer one of my personas. I am myself, just 01 Boku, and that means we are back on to another review of, you guessed it, continuing the very, well, actually, I should save that if we ever do One Piece or the continuation of Dragon Ball Z, especially One Piece. But the very long episodic show of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And remember, this is Brotherhood, and like I said, once we're done with Brotherhood, we're moving on to the original show after this. So I hope you guys are not funned out of Full Metal Alchemist by the time we finish this long damn odyssey. You'll probably be happy for a breath of fresh air, but either way.
Yeah, kids, remember when anime used to have 26 episodes sometimes?
Yeah, well,
Good times.
that's when it was regular short. Now, which, again, I think the way anime does it, especially when anime are successful, even the unsuccessful ones, 6 to 12 episodes is actually really good because, hey, they can actually do story, unlike us. But I digress.
And then there's One Piece, which just never dies.
You know what? In all seriousness, Joe, they've got to find the One Piece at some. Again, I am not going to be shocked if. Sorry to go on the tangent, guys, but I'm not going to be shocked if Buck Roger is actually alive and somebody somewhere, and it's actually going to come down to him and Luffy fighting over the damn treasure. At least that's another one of my theories, that Buck Roger really isn't dead. That was one of his lackeys, or he somehow pulled a Chucky on everybody and is inside somebody else from a spell, or God forbid another gum fruit. How many of those are there? But you know.
Hey, wouldn't it be
Hey.
crazy if it turned out Luffy was actually Joy Boy just pretending to be Luffy?
You know, well, that or, you know, and sorry we're going on this tangent, guys, but, that or, like, Monkey D. Luffy is related to Buck Roger. That's been the other big theory going around for a while, that he is, you know, Buck Rogers' like, grandson or actual son. So, I know they've been flirting that idea for the last couple of years.
Well, it'd be funny because, I mean, you know, he's called Monkey D. Luffy. Vegeta, I mean, Prince Vegeta is Prince of the D. Final fight, Monkey D. Luffy versus Vegeta over who gets to be the King of the D.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then give it to Nami.
And, you know, so regardless of that little rant there, sorry guys, but we are on episode 17, Cold Flame. Now this episode, I'm going to say, is a little interesting because it gets more into the intrigue. It reveals more about how the homunculi are starting to do the frame up, because it starts off with Maria Ross being interrogated by, I forget, the Proust, if I'm saying that right, Proust division of Henry Douglas, who's looking at the crime of Brigadier General Hughes, and he's questioning Maria Ross, you know, rather roughly, but again, she is the prime suspect, and, you know, he tosses, you know, a bullet at her, and, you know, it was from her gun, and saying, you know, how did this get here, and, you know, she was saying, oh, well, you know, I was firing it at the 5th laboratory, and he's like, well, the 5th laboratory was destroyed. That can't be used. And then she's like, well, ask my parents, I was with them. Well, testimony of your parents cannot be used as evidence, so,
And he also mentions, you know, that Hughes was killed with a .45 caliber round.
Yeah.
What caliber does your gun use, Lieutenant Ross?
Thank you,
45.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Jherick. I did forget about that. Plus, I will make a note, since he brought that up too, there is actually a difference between the English dub and Japanese dub. The Japanese dub are a bit more prejudiced, where they say even a woman could have hit General Hughes at that close range, given how close she was to him, or ND was to him. But then he says even the most unskilled soldiers can, you know, hit a shot at that close range. So being a bit more respectful in English, but in Japanese, in the subtitled language, it says, you know, even a woman can hit that range. So Henry Douglas is a bit more prejudiced in Japanese than he was in English. So I caught on that when we watched the English dub, and I'm like, oh, he didn't say that line. So that was something the Japanese tossed in there. Hey.
I'm guessing, he doesn't let Risa Hawkeye hear him say that.
I would doubt it. Because she could probably shoot him from 100 yards away and kill him. But either way, she's going through the interrogation. Denny Brosh and Major Alex Louis Armstrong are trying to find out, what's going on with her, because they're wondering how this got to be. They don't understand. Denny Brosh's testimony isn't being used. Major Armstrong's testimony isn't being used. So they're both wondering, what's happening. And then, you have Edward, Alphonse, and Winry still recovering from the news of Hughes, Basically, there's this real touching scene where Winry doesn't want to see the Elric brothers hurt. She just wants them safe, and she says, things like, you would expect anyone to hopefully say, I want you to achieve your goal. In this case, I want you guys to get your bodies back, find what you're really searching for, and I want us all to be happy again. But then, and she can't really say it, but you get this idea, it's like, I don't care how you guys are, I just want you to be alive and, to be with me. Don't leave me like my parents left.
And what makes this even more touching is the reason why she even brings it up is she's like helping Alphonse to wax his armor. She notices all the buffs and scratches on it, and she realizes these guys must be going up against some pretty tough customers to put that kind of dings in her armor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually kind of sweet too, because again, her parents were military. They died on the job. They're now military. And I love how Alphonse breaks up the tension. It's like, gee, Winry, you're being awfully sweet today.
Yeah. What's the matter? Can I care about you guys? Can I stop it? You're putting in more dings. And that gets that actually also gets Edward to smile. And there's also a part 2, whereas the episode continues, you have Vato Fallman, Lieutenant Fallman playing chess still with Barry the Chopper, or number 66, take or leave, again, the name, how you want to call him. But they're playing chess, Fallman's saying he's bored, he gets the paper, he goes to pick up the paper, realizes that the news of Maria Ross is getting out, that she's been arrested for Hughes' murder. He calls somebody on a secure line using his code. Then we just see Barry the Chopper realizing that, it was Maria Ross who was at the 5th laboratory. So then that whole thing, continues on in a way, and you don't know what to expect, although as it goes, you see like one of the next scenes is Maria Ross in jail, and then you have Barry the Chopper just going up to the guys, and he actually scares the guards because one of them shoots his head with a shotgun and his head tumbles off, and then he touches the helmet, but they don't see a head inside of it, and they're like, a ghost, and so he finally got the achieved scare he was looking for, and he's beating up, knocking out the guards, upset because he can't kill anybody. So you're sort of getting the idea that he's been told by someone in the military, vis-a-vis, I'm going to say, Roy Mustang, not to kill anybody. And he gets there, and there's also a guard questioning Ling Yao, saying, what are you doing here? Are you really 15? Of course I'm 15, yes.
It's like, now you stay there while we deal with the empty, scary suit ghost. It's like, okay, I'll be good boy.
And then all of a sudden, like as soon as Barry the Chopper turns the corner, like he finds out Ling Yao is from Xing, takes an interest in this for whatever reason, frees him without any sort of regard as to why, because he just says, hey, did you say you're from Xing? And that's from the East again, right? And then you're right, and then free, and then he frees Maria Ross, and Maria Ross is freaking out, knowing that it's the man from the 5th laboratory. And there's actually a cool part in the Japanese one where the actor Nobei Umezu speaks English, and he's like, hello, honey, that is over there, or whatever he said. I've come to get you. Being his old perverted self, and again, sort of falling for Maria Ross, because I guess, hey, even though Barry the Chopper loved cutting up women most of all, I guess he has a thing for tough chicks.
Yeah. Oh, and before he rescues Ling and Maria Ross, he runs into the Elric brothers, and he points at Alphonse.
Oh no, that was after.
Oh, that was, okay, but after he, I do love how he rescues her, and he's like, hey, you're that sweetheart from the 5th lab, and it's like, yeah, you can see he's kind of got a thing for tough ladies who pack heat.
Yep.
And you know, they, of course, in freeing her, it's like they run the Elrics. It's like you, the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they say basically in both Japanese and English, it's you, what are you doing here? And also there was a part before, too, right, when Barry the Chopper freed her, it's like, Maria Ross says, I want the courts to prove I did nothing wrong and whatnot, and Barry Chopper throws the paper at her and says, looks like they decided already. Well, you gonna stay here for the firing squad, or you gonna come with me? And then there's like a whole, Mom, Dad, please forgive me, and then long, awkward pause. Okay, I'll come with. And, and like Jherick brought up, the Elric brothers run into they sort of get into it with Barry the Chopper and Ling. They're wondering why Ling Yao is with Barry. Ling Yao really doesn't say anything except I can't explain it right now. Barry, tries to keep the Elrics at bay. He tells Maria Ross to run the other direction. Edward actually calls out to Maria Ross and says, Lieutenant Ross, tell us what you know about, Brigadier General Hughes, thinking that maybe she did have something to do with it, but she looks at him in a concerned way and keeps running. And then while they're dealing with both Ling Yao and Barry the Chopper, you have this weird scene where, Colonel Mustang was already walking the streets, going somewhere. He looked determined. All of a sudden, Maria Ross comes upon him and he's like, Lieutenant Ross, right? Snaps his fingers. We just see the flame look like it's coming upon her, and then a big explosion. Elrics get there, and then we see the prison tags of Maria Ross laying on the ground right next to a charred body. And, they're thinking, oh my God, what did he do? What happened here? And both of them go to confront, Colonel Mustang, and Colonel Mustang he hits Edward right across the face saying, don't question the superior officer, you know better, I don't have to answer to you, you don't have to answer to anyone else higher above me, you just obey the orders and follow them. And Alphonse questions it too, but he doesn't even give Alphonse any answers.
But then that guy who, what was his name? The guy who interrogated him?
The Proust officer, Henry Douglas.
But then Henry Douglas shows up and he's looking at a Roy Mustang, and it kind of implies that he's suspicious about him. He asks so you found, what were you doing out here, Colonel? It's like, I heard, the order went out, shoot to kill. So it's like she tried to resist, so I killed her.
Yep. Because that's the thing, he said shoot to kill, but he adds in that because when the order does get out that she escaped, there is a little scene where Henry Douglas says, capture her alive, but if she does resist, kill her. So in a way, he wanted her taken alive so they could get to the bottom of the truth of what happened, which is what makes me think Henry Douglas isn't a part of what's going on within the military with this, creepy little coup between, Fuhrer, Bradley, and Father and everything, because I know I'm sort of giving a spoiler warning here, but if you guys didn't think any of the military members weren't involved with them, dead wrong. There's a huge thing where half the military is with them, the other half isn't. And I don't think Henry Prost was with them, because considering he was asking questions like that, I think he's just a military man through and through and wanted to get to the truth. And, he knows Roy Mustang's thing, and Roy Mustang's developed a pretty cold reputation. And also, while Henry Douglas was questioning Roy Mustang, you have Edward just staring daggers at him saying, how could you, why did you do this? And then it cuts to a new character we have as well, besides Henry Douglas, Dr. Knox, who seems to know Roy Mustang as well as several of the members in the military, and saying, well, by what I could sift through the charred body and find what I could of the dental work, that is indeed Maria Ross. And he even looks at, Roy Mustang and discusses saying, so this is the proud Ishval in general? Are you satisfied yet for your lust for another revenge? Someone killed so many years, so now you take it out of them. The fact you had to kill a beauty like this.
And turn her into charcoal, yeah.
Yeah, just because of what happened.
And what's interesting is I kind of get the feeling he's helping Roy Mustang with the cover-up, because, he says quite specifically, from what I could tell of the remains and the dental work, which is stupidly specific, so I'm thinking since he's going to have to file that shit with HQ, he must have falsified the reports in order to cover for Roy Mustang.
That's true. I didn't even think to consider that. That's a good eye there, Jherick. Very good eye indeed. I did not even consider that at all.
Yeah, because, your dental records are incredible. incredibly specific. So
very true.
as long as you still have natural teeth, hell, even if you got dentures, they could still tell you're you.
Yeah. And then also you have this quick scene quick moment within the same scene where, Major Armstrong goes, Colonel, I want to apologize on behalf of my soldiers. I can't believe Maria Ross would commit this murder. She was so dedicated, honest, polite, and straightforward. And, at the same time, it's really hard to hear in Japanese, but the way Christopher R. Sabat played it in English was he made it sound sad, but yet he's, staring daggers at Mustang, looking like, how could you kill her?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe my lieutenant would have done anything like this.
And you can see he's just crying buckets while he's saying this and having to apologize. So it's pretty clear that at this point, Armstrong has no idea what's really going on. He thinks Mustang really killed her.
Yeah. And then that was a nice setup there, Jherick, because what Mustang says next is, maybe you've been working too hard. Take a few days off. Go into the country out east. There's lots of beautiful women. So it's almost like that's a weird code name, because what happens is the scene continues on, and we have Roy Mustang, doing some paperwork. Riza Hawkeye comes in. Riza Hawkeye asks for some time off. Roy Mustang sort of playing coy. You want time off, huh? Yes, I do, sir. Is that a problem? No, go ahead. And then, the soldiers at his office are looking, frightening and concerned, because we're like, how does he, refuse that woman? It's almost like she's his nanny, always by his side and being that, up front with him.
And he's also, at the same time, talking on the phone to what I'm assuming is pretending his girlfriend. It's like, yeah, I've been so busy since I got here, I haven't had time to anything. Maybe now would be a great time to go out to the country and do some fishing.
Yeah.
Which I told him, yeah, fishing for intel, huh?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Jherick caught on to that and explained it to me, which I thought was interesting, because I even knew that had to be a code thing, but I never knew, the type of words. So Jherick was great to catch on to that. And what I love next is where you see the scene where basically the Elric brothers and Minry were still mulling things over. All of a sudden, Major Armstrong, who's dressed up in his suit and tie again like he's going on recreational, comes in and he's raising a fist, looks like he's about to hit Edward. Edward blocks it with his automail arm. His automail arm's fine, and he's like, Major, what the hell, and Major Armstrong comes in, Edward, you've damaged your automail again. Look at this car. I gotta take you home to Reservoir. Alphonse, you stay here. You too big. We must leave immediately.
Yeah, he says, Alphonse, you stick out too much. You stay here with Winry. And Winry's like,
Yeah, because Winry's like, well, wait. If you're going to Reservoir, shouldn't I go with you because I'm your automail mechanic? And that was the other thing that sticks out too. Why would it, you take Winry? Because even though Pinocchio helped Winry work on the automail, a lot of those were Winry's own designs, so Winry should go with them. But, Major Armstrong says, no, you all do what you do, but I'm going here with Edward.
And as he's racing off with Edward in his arm, he's like, what are you doing, Major Armstrong? Don't worry, I'll explain everything later.
Yeah, and he's
kind of indicating that Roy Mustang has, that he's figured out that Roy Mustang's up to something.
Yeah, and he ends the line with, why can't you let me go? And he's like, sorry, Mr. Elric, orders. And then, it's like, oh, and then that's when you hear, Roy Mustang hangs up the phone with his girlfriend really quick, and he's back in his office just contemplating stuff. All of a sudden, one of the men gets a phone call. He picks up the phone and says, Colonel, the Major got, the Full Metal Alchemist on the train, and he's like, perfect, everyone's out of the way. And then, that's just sort of like what leads ahead. And then there's also this one scene where we have, Lust and Envy talking over the situation about Maria Ross's death, thinking that, okay, so everything's good and everything's in place, Envy's saying everything's in place, nothing to worry about, Roy Mustang took the bait, he did our jobs for us, now he'll probably back off a bit. And then Lust is like, don't you think it was a little too easy? No, and he didn't think to ask why Roy Mustang did what he did? I forgot, and we also saw that this guy was with this description.
well, what about that mysterious person who got the foreigner out of prison? It's like, oh, him? Yeah, that was probably, what's his name from Laboratory 5, but he was really good at running away, so I couldn't catch up to him.
You
and
mean
then
you lost him? Don't judge me, you old hag.
And then she's like, well, don't worry. If it's manpower you need, we have plenty.
Oh, yeah, and then all of a sudden, as the camera pans down, we see this, what looks to be like a chimera in a box, this, like, mad type of man in armor, and she says, well, Barry, are you ready for some action, Barry the Chopper? And I'm like, oh, and that's how the episode ends, because seems like, you know, the ante just keeps getting up, and the homunculi are making another play.
Well, aside from that, you know, aside from them having Barry's original body with now possessed purple eyes, there was also the thing where, like, we see Barry the Chopper going back with, like, that.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That agent who was said to, who was told to keep an eye on him is like,
Votofloman, yeah.
what were you doing? Did anybody see you? It's like, don't worry, I don't think anybody saw me. It's like, and what about that guy out there? And Ling's like roasting some fish. It's like, oh, look at that. It's like, what are you doing? A signal fire. And then
trying to signal people here.
And then his ninjas show up. It's like, ooh, it's a party now.
Yeah, it's a party now.
It's like, what are we going to do? Roy Mustang's going to be angry if he finds out. It's like, oh, you just tell, well, if that happens, just tell him you were kidnapped by a big, scary serial killer and you were held against your will.
Yep. And that was a great bit of play there, and I loved how they pulled that one off too, and that was just a real nice bit of thought by Barry the Chopper there, thinking of that, but of course he's a serial killer, so he would have to have some level of intelligence, so I'm glad you remember that, Jherick. I almost forgot about that, so yes indeed, yes indeed.
And like I told Boku here, isn't it odd that, you know, Ling, a prince from Jing, would get arrested, put in detainment, and then the day Barry the Chopper busts Maria Ross out, he just happens to be there and he takes him with him.
Yeah, and yet he signals his ninja who were right there, and they were there in seconds, and the signal fire wasn't even that big, and it's like,
yep.
Sir, we found you.
Only a ninja can stop a ninja.
Yeah, and then you know, that was basically the episode, and as you see, things are progressing and getting way more interesting, and you know, do you guys think, you know, Maria Ross is dead or not? That's a question that you have. If you've seen the show, you know what it is, and you're probably just waiting for me to explain it, because again, it seems like from what I've seen with the reviews, people like doing reaction reviews. I would love to do those type of reviews, but I also like doing in-depth after reviews, because I love how you can explain things that go on and give your take on it. Of course, I think that's just as equally good. And into that moment too, it is character time, and boy, this episode 17 had a lot of good character moments. There's almost too many to count in this episode, because this episode, every character had what seemed to be a good moment, like, you know, great acting by everybody involved, everybody there. If there's two people, because like I said, there's too many to count, and you guys would always know I would mention the Elricks, and of course I would say, you know, Vic Mignogna as Edward Elric again is pretty high up there, because his performances in this episode were really good, especially questioning Roy Mustang for why he did it. You know, that was really well done. But if there are two characters I have to definitely give the MVP to, and the reason it's two because they were the most that stuck out for me, I would have to say that is, where are you? Roy Mustang by Shinichiro Miki and Travis Willingham. Great performances of being a cold-hearted individual, cold-hearted badass, cold-hearted just overall, but then knowing that he's plotting this thing together, both actors in Japanese and English, really gave the idea that we mean business and we're going to pull through with it. And the second one, I mean, if you guys could probably saw this coming, it's obvious, because he really had a big part in this episode more than any other episode. Number 66, or Barry the Chopper, by Hideyuki Umezu. Oh, I said Nobu, so sorry, not Nobu, Hideyuki Umezu and Jerry Jewell. And their performances as Barry the Chopper was really good, because, you know, the comedy he gave was on point, the way he could be creepy, the way he was, like, setting up scenarios that people could believe in was really good, and the way he's just like, hey, I'm doing this for a reason, you know, go here, or they'll get you, and, you know, like, it's so weird seeing Barry the Chopper be a quasi-good guy. But again, Jerry Jewell and Hideyuki Amazu pull it off, and those are my two characters that were the MVPs because they stuck out the most, and they had, in my opinion, some of the greatest performances. But everybody in this episode gave, in my opinion, a great performance. Jherick, as far as characters concerned, anything to add?
Well, I'm going to go with Barry the Chopper for number one because, like he said, he just owned this hard.
Yeah, the episode was his, yeah.
You know, the lovey-dovey, the funny, the being a badass, the just nonchalantness when he's being questioned where he was. Mm-hmm. But honestly, for my number two, I'm going to have to go with Armstrong because, man, I mean, you know, like they say, the heart is the strongest muscle. So could you imagine how big that dude's heart is?
Yeah. And you know what? I would say he would have been my number three, and I would have said I had two tied for number three. Because if I had to have a number three to just mention really quick, it would have been, Alex Louis Armstrong, Kenji Utsumi, and Christopher R. Sabat, sorry. And then Winry Rockbell, Megumi Takamoto, and Caitlin Glass, because Winry's scene, even though quick, her talking about what the Elrics mean to her, another powerful moment. So Megumi Takamoto, Caitlin Glass blew that out of the park for me too. So they would have been my number three if I had to have a number three pick in this too. But like I said,
if I had a number three, would probably be that Dr. Knox because
Dr. Knox.
That was a great scene. Short as it was, you know, him just putting on this act of absolute disgust with Roy Mustang, knowing that he's probably covering up something pretty big and he'll be shit hammered by the military if they find out. But honestly, I gotta say, that guy's got a damn good poker face.
Yeah, Kinryu Arimoto and R. Bruce Elliott. So, yep, I would have to say that was a good, small performance from them, too. So, hey, differences here, and, you know, good explain the differences of characters. So, nicely done. And final thoughts, I'd have to say this is a pretty good episode because it's moving things forward. It's creating great intrigue. So, it's a good episode because it's creating intrigue for the next one. And when we saw the preview for the next one, seems like some awfully big stuff is going to be revealed, as well as some good action is about to happen. And, you know, so it's a great precursor for the next episode. So it's set everything up really well. So it creates more intrigue, and it's just like, whoa, here we go. Stuff's about to hit the fan big time.
Well, gee, Boku, why don't we tell them what's going to happen in the next episode? To leave them wanting more, Pinky.
Yes, to leave them wanting more, Pinky. To leave them wanting more. To try to take over the anime waves.
Boku jackass. Boku yeah, I've got Pinky the Brain.
The jackass and the Boku.
Narf.
Do live point. But yeah, those are our thoughts on it, and that's pretty much it. So what do you guys think about this episode? You know, do you like episode 17 Cold Flame, or again, is this been a show you watched again? I mean, I know I said the same thing over and over again, but I guess that's what you get when you do an episodic show this way, guys. But hey, just leave a comment down below, tell us what you think, and we will get back to you later, alright? And probably should be also posting another well, not movie, a little side thing very soon. Just give you a little preview right now. It's going to be with the whole Will Smith thing. It probably won't be a very long video. It's just going to be our thoughts on it. And because obviously I saw that and going, Hollywood is so fucking stupid. So, yeah, so you'll probably see that soon really too as well. But until then, this is 012 Boku.
Jackass Jherick.
And we'll see you guys later, alright? Deuces. Hey, on time.